Hey there. Welcome into the Ben Maynard program. Let me get situated here. Camera's rolling and I'm not even situated. So, welcome into the Ben Maynard program. Thanks for being here. I think we have a fun one today. I really think that you're going to enjoy it. It's going to bring back some good memories if you are someone of my age, maybe even older, maybe even younger too. We're going to talk a lot about music of 1976. Going to cover some great albums that were released in the year 1976. They are celebrating 50 years. That's crazy to think about, especially when I bring up some of the albums that we're going to cover. But before we get into that, a little bit of housekeeping to take care of first, all right? As you guys know, this program is available wherever you get your podcasts. Just search the Ben Maynard program. Boom, it's right there. Go with it. Download it. Okay, please. You guys got to start downloading stuff, please. I need some help with that big time. Download it. But not only downloading it, you got to share it. Share it with all your people. All right. Just share that link. It's right there. Share it with all your people. Give me a 5-star rating because I deserve it. And you can subscribe to it also, because anytime you subscribe on the streaming services, you get a notification whenever a new episode drops. And that's pretty much every week, right? Then next, if you can't resist some of this right here, and this morning, no, if you turn it off, I completely understand. But if you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. I need you guys to do something, though. Subscribe to the channel, all right? Please. I don't want to get on my hands and knees and beg. Just subscribe to the channel and then hit the notification bell for the same reason you subscribe on the streaming platforms, okay? Anytime a new episode drops, you get notified. Next, you can leave me a thumbs up, and then you can leave a comment. And I think with today's episode, you guys are going to want to get involved in the comments. You're going to want to leave some comments. I think so. But and then please tell 1,000 of your family and friends. Excuse me, but I don't have a cough button or anything, so excuse me for that. But tell 1,000 of your family and friends about the Ben Maynard program. All right. I'm trying to get as many subscribers as I possibly can. Okay. It would be swell to reach, a certain number by mid-year, by the end of the year. And the only way that's going to happen is if you spread the word. You tell your family and friends about this podcast, and you tell them to subscribe. All right. Last but not least, follow me on Instagram. Simply Ben Maynard program, all one word, or where I'm a little more active, you can follow me on the TikTok. That is at the Ben Maynard program. So there are plenty of ways to take in this show for your dancing and listening pleasure. And as I started to say earlier, we are going to turn back the clock to 1976 and talk about some great albums that, in some cases, since we are in the month of March, have already turned 50, and in other cases have yet to turn 50, but they are celebrating 50 years this year. All right. Some just fabulous stuff. What I'm not going to do is really show you album covers, because I don't have all of these albums in my collection, especially in vinyl. A lot of them I do have on CDs. I didn't want to dig all that stuff out. Most of you guys probably know this stuff anyway. You probably know almost every one that I'm going to bring up. If you don't, you get a pen and paper, start jotting this stuff down, start looking it up. If you want to go buy the vinyl, go buy the vinyl. Whether you have a turntable or not, like me. I don't have a turntable, but I buy vinyl just because I love looking at it, and I love just kind of having it. I don't want to say in my collection, but I like having it. But you can go out and buy the CDs. You can start streaming this stuff, whatever it is. Okay. But I think that, like I said, for most of you out there, you will know each and every one of these albums that I'm going to be covering today. So let's get right into it. All right. Because I think I have, I don't know, like 14 or 15 of them. I didn't count exactly. So we'll see how that all plays out. Let's get this up on the, whoops, right there on the screen. Okay, cool. And then we're ready to roll. Let's just start out right at the top. I've got my notes right here ahead of me. This took a long time to put together. What a dummy. You know what? Hang on. You guys don't need to see this other microphone. So let me get it off the table. Besides, it'll probably give me a little bit more room to work as well. Yeah, that was left over from the drunk show last week. Okay. So the first one I'm going to hit you with, and maybe actually some of you may not know this one. I had this one in my collection as a kid. I think I got it pretty much not upon release, but probably within 6 months to a year after it had been released. And this is the only one that I actually have a cover of. And because it's kind of rare, I'm going to say rare, but like I said, most of you may not know it. I did print it out so I could show it to you. And that is this one right here. The Beach Boys, 15 Big Ones. Okay. Now, what's weird is that title makes you kind of think that it would be like a greatest hits album, and it's not. It's not at all. It was released in, of course, 76, and it was not really well received critically. And what it is, though, it's a combination, as the title says, 15 big ones. So it's got 15 tracks on it. It's a return of Brian Wilson to the group. He returned, and it was kind of marketed that way as well. Like, oh, the return of Brian Wilson. And there's some good stuff on here. I bought it not knowing anything about it except the fact that I did like the Beach Boys after being introduced to them by my good childhood friend John. I've talked about it before. And I think that 15 Big Ones was probably the second Beach Boy record in my collection. I believe the first one I got was Endless Summer, which was a greatest hits package. So this one here is kind of a mixture or a combination of songs that were written by the band, original songs written by the band, and some cover tunes. It's almost like half and half. And of course, the band shares vocals. You know, Mike Love does primarily the lead vocals, but I think there's a song or two by Dennis Wilson. I think Carl Wilson has a track or so on here. Even Al Jardine has one or two songs that he's got lead vocals on. So everybody's sharing lead vocals on this album. But the track listing goes like this, and I really like this version. It starts off with Rock and Roll Music. That's the Chuck Berry tune, been covered by many artists. Ones that I know for sure are the Beach Boys and the Beatles. The Beatles had a really cool version of it, and I really like the Beach Boys version of this song as well. It's a little bit slower, not as fast, and yeah, just good stuff. Let's see. It's Okay. That's another original song written by Brian Wilson and Mike Love. I think it's sung by both of those. I think they trade off on the lead vocals. Then track 3 had to Phone Ya. Track 4, you see our first cover here. It's Chapel of Love. And at the time I got this record, I'm 11, 12 years old. And well, at the time that this record was released, it was released in July 5th of 1976. So, you know, after its release, my birthday's in August. So yeah, I'm sure I was 11 whenever I got it, maybe 12 at that point. And I didn't know that the Chapel of Love wasn't an original song. I had no idea, but I like this version. And then another original tune, Everyone's in Love with You. Then there's a cover version, Talk to Me, a cover song, I should say. And then track 7 is that same song written by, I think it was written by Brian Wilson and Mike Love. Then there's the TM song, which is the transcendental, that's what it stands for, the Transcendental Meditation Song. And it's an odd tune. It's about a minute and a half long, written by Brian Wilson. Al Jardine takes the lead on it, but it's like I said, it's an odd track. It starts out with all of the guys screaming and hollering at each other. They're all bickering and arguing, and each one's like playing a different role. One guy is like the neighbor down the street. What are you doing? Hey, you call the police, and all this kind of stuff. And as a like 11, 12-year-old kid, I thought it was kind of funny. I actually just listened to it earlier today, prepping for this episode. And I was like, that's kind of stupid. So, yeah, we're not too crazy about it. All right. So, if you flip the vinyl over, you go to side 2. You've got track 1, Palisades Park. That's a cover of a Chuck Barris song. Then you've got another original, Susie Cincinnati. Track 3, A Casual Look. That is a cover song. Then I'm thinking this is the Fats Domino song. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember, but it's Blueberry Hill. Not written by Fats, but this one's written by Al Lewis, Larry Stock, and Vincent Rose. Then another original song, track 5 is Back Home. Then it closes out with 2 covers, In the Still of the Night and Just Once in My Life. Like I said, the album got panned by critics, and it didn't get much better from fans. The word on it really didn't. So it was kind of a disappointing album for the Beach Boys, even though it was, like I said, it was marketed as Brian's back. Well, it kind of fell short of everyone's expectations, but I kind of dig it. I do. I kind of dig it. I really like some of the songs on there. Probably half of the songs at least I like on there. So anyway, that's the Beach Boys 15 big ones. Let's see. Next, we've got released on March 19th of 1976, the 6th album from the Doobie Brothers. It is Taking It to the Streets. Yeah, so this is the first album to feature Michael McDonald on lead vocals. Michael was taking the place of band leader pretty much, and lead vocalist Tom Johnston, who it was said was really, I mean, touring was really starting to take a toll on him. He had been diagnosed with ulcers, and so he really stepped back big time from the band when it went into the writing and recording of this album. Yeah, so I mean, his condition was so bad that in the previous year when they were touring for their album Stampede, they had to cancel a lot of shows because his condition had gotten so bad. But Jeff Skunk Baxter, he decided the band wasn't sure what they were going to do. So Jeff thought, well, you know what? Let me put in a call to my good buddy and my former bandmate with Steely Dan, Michael McDonald. So that's what he did. And so Michael came in, and he was even unsure at the time if the Doobie Brothers was the right fit for him. Well, I'd say this, it was probably a pretty good fit because the album did pretty well. It was received well. Michael McDonald takes the lead on 4 of the 9 tracks on the album. and then he splits vocals with Patrick Simmons on one other track. So the new guy comes in and already sings on 50 more than 50% of the tracks on the album. Now the notable ones on this record are wait, where is it? I got my, like I said, I got all my notes here. The notable ones are Wheels of Fortune, It Keeps You Running, big rock radio or FM radio staple in the 70s, the 80s, and even into the 90s a bit. The title track, Taking It to the Streets, same thing, big song. Taking It to the Streets and Keeps You Running, huge radio hits. So yeah, the album did quite well for them, and then the band carried on. And in fact, I think I think they're out touring. I think they're out touring this year. I'm trying to remember who the bill is. Santana and the Doobie Brothers. That's right. They're out touring this summer. So if they come to your neighborhood, why not go check them out? Because I know Michael is back touring with the band. He spent a lot of years not really touring with them, and then he would make special appearances from time to time, but he's back touring with the band. Okay, next is the band's 5th studio album. This one was released on December 10th, so almost at the end of the year, December 10th of 76. It is A Day at the Races by Queen. As I said, 5th album. The album reached the top of the charts in UK, in Japan, and the Netherlands. It was number 5 on the Billboard Top 200 chart. It was Queen's third album to ship gold, and it subsequently went on to reach platinum status. Pretty big seller. It's got some big songs on it. Let me see here. Big tracks on it. I don't own this one. I never owned this one, but the track listing on side 1, you've got Tie Your Mother Down, You Take My Breath Away, Long Away, The Millionaire Waltz, You and I, Somebody to Love, White Man, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, Drowse, and then Teo Toriate. That song, that track, The Millionaire Waltz, that was kind of certainly not as long as Bohemian Rhapsody, but that was kind of their Bohemian Rhapsody-esque song on this album. It is a what do you call it? A companion album to the previous one, A Night at the Opera. Both of those albums, A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races, the titles of those were taken from Marx Brothers movies. So they are kind of companion albums. And the big songs, of course, Tie Your Mother Down, great song, great song. And Somebody to Love, epic song, right? I mean, I shouldn't say epic, but enormous. Let's put it that way. Enormous song. Great vocal delivery from Freddie on that one. It's a song that every Queen tribute band has to have in their set. If they don't have that in their set, they're probably going to get run out of the building. So, but yeah, good album, good tracks on that. And what was wait, hang on, let me look at here. Well, I'm trying to think what the follow-up was to that album. I think it was News of the World. Let me see if I have it in my notes here as I bumble and stumble and fumble, and I can't even separate pages here. Yeah, the follow-up to that was News of the World. That's probably one of my favorite Queen albums right there. But we're talking about 76, not 77. So let's move forward. Next on your list, because you're writing them all down, right? is Bad Company, Running with the Pack, released January 30th of 1976. This is the third album by Bad Company that it follows their hard rock bluesy sound that they established on their first two records. The cover, they do a cover of the Lieber Stoller song "Young Blood," and that was the highest charting single at that time in the U.S. From this album. It actually might have been altogether, but the original songs, the original tracks, Silver, Blue, and Gold, great song, and the title track, which is one of my all-time favorite Bad Company songs, period, is they were FM staples, constantly on the radio, on rock radio, not just, through the 70s, the 80s, into the 90s, until that big old giant musical change, which and not just musical change, but industry change in radio and the way we consumed it, the way we played it, that kind of stuff. But in some critics' opinions, there's a little bit of fatigue that starts to seep in on this album. The band struggled to maintain its annual album output, or their album schedule moving forward with this. Another rock radio tune that got a lot of play on this from this album as well was "Live for the Music," another great song. Just to me, it's a fantastic album, and I love the songs on it. Just so good, and of course Paul Rodgers. There's not enough that can be said about Paul Rodgers. Tremendous performer, singer, songwriter, and dubbed the singer's singer. Just great stuff. And it's a shame that he's been dealing with the health issues that he's been dealing with the last few years, and he was unable to make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony last year, but Bad Company finally got in. I know we talked about it a couple of different times on a couple of different episodes. They were more than deserving, should have been in years and years ago, but they finally got in, deservedly so. Unfortunately, half of the members of the band, the original lineup, are dead, no longer with us. But I'm not going to go off on a tangent on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's not why we're here today. So moving forward, but Running with the Pack, great album, great band. And yeah, there you go. So next one, released in October of 76, and that is the 6th studio album by Styx, Crystal Ball. Hard to believe that in 76, this was already their 6th studio album. Now, I'm thinking back. I know the previous album was Equinox, and but I don't remember. There was a period of time the band did. They were on a record label called Wooden Nickel, and I think they put out 3 albums on Wooden Nickel. And this was probably at least a good 20 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer. I don't even know if those albums are available anymore, but I bought, there was a special edition, and I bought those albums. I bought them on CD. I don't even remember the names of them. I listened to them maybe once or twice, and that was years probably right when I got them. But it was the band minus Tommy Shaw, because if you know, Tommy Shaw is not an original member of the band Styx. He is obviously a member of the classic lineup. Nobody really knew who Styx was outside of the song Lady, which was from, I don't remember which album it was, but it was from those Wooden Nickel years. So, and it really only got like regional radio play way back when. But getting back to Crystal Ball, this is the debut of Tommy Shaw in Styx. The album's title track is really still a staple, a concert staple for the band. They still perform it. And at that time, it was performed on every single tour that Tommy Shaw was a member of the band. But this album, it did not perform as well as its predecessor, Equinox. It only peaked at number 66 on the Billboard Top 200. And it took 8 years for this album to be certified gold. It was finally certified gold in 1984. Really the only like big song off of it is Crystal Ball. The track listing, it only has 8 songs, 8 tunes, which was kind of like a normal thing back in the 70s. And Styx at this time, they were still really leaning a lot progressive, certainly in their early days. But so when that happens, the songs are more drawn out, longer songs, less songs on an album. And the running time on the album is 34, almost 35 minutes, and it's only got 8 tracks on it. And so side 1 starts with Put Me On, then Mademoiselle, Jennifer, then the title track, Crystal Ball. Then if you flip the album over, you've got Shoes, track 2, This Old Man, track 3, Claire de Lune, and which is really just a very, very short tune at 1:05. And then you've got album closing out with the epic Ballerina. So if you're huge into Styx, I'm sure you're digging on this album. And if not, check it out. Check it out. The critics are not always right. Just because something isn't critically well received doesn't mean anything. It all matters what you think. All right. Next, we have released in September 20th of 1976. It's the 3rd studio album by AC/DC, and it is Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. The album was originally released only in Europe, Australia, and New Zealand in the year of 1976. In America, this album, we didn't even know about this album. This album wasn't released until 1981, and it wasn't released until over a year after Bon Scott had died. So you had Bon Scott dying in 1980, coming off the release of the album Highway to Hell. Then the band releases Back in Black. You guys know the story of Back in Black. Enormous album, one of the biggest ever in the history of albums. So I think the record company probably wanted to capitalize on the band's big success now, and so they went and they started to release the back catalog prior to that, and Dirty Deeds was one of those albums. Now the original, the Australian cover of the album, it's like if you guys are familiar with the album, you know the American version of it, the US version of this album has a picture of a group of people standing in front of what looks to be like a motor lodge, a motel. In fact, it was shot. It was the picture was shot in front of a motel in Los Angeles on Sunset Boulevard. That building's no longer there. I think it was sold, demolished in the early 80s. But the original cover of this album is an animated drawing, cartoon drawing of it, like Bon Scott standing like at the corner of a pool table, and he's got his arm up in the air and his fist up in the air, and on his forearm he's got a tattoo, and it's got the album title on within the tattoo, "Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap," and in the background it looks like it's probably not Malcolm, but Angus Young standing kind of in the background. It looks like it could be, like I said, it's cartoonish. So, but this album has gone on to be an incredibly popular and well-sold album for the band. The track listing on side one, you've got the title track, "Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap," a staple on rock radio, played all the time. "Ain't No Fun," "There's Gonna Be Some Rockin'," then one of my favorites, "Problem Child," great song, another staple on rock radio. Then turn the album over, you've got side one on side two, you've got, track one on side two, you've got "Squealer." Then you've got "Big Balls." Gets a fair amount of radio play, the double entendre on that song throughout. Then track 7 is R.I.P. Rock in Peace. Then you've got "Ride On," and the album closes out with track 9, "Jailbreak." So big tunes on that song. On that album. Gosh, I'm getting a little tongue-tied here. Maybe I need a sip of water. But a big album, and there's been this not division, but you've got different camps when it comes to AC/DC. You've got the Bon Scott camp. People appreciate and like the Bon Scott catalog more than the Brian Johnson. And then you've got the same thing over on the Brian Johnson side, with, a lot of fans taken to the Brian Johnson material more than the Bon Scott stuff. Me, I like both. I don't know if I have a preference. Certainly AC/DC didn't come on to my radar until Back in Black. And it's so funny, when Back in Black was released, that album was so considered to be so hard and heavy. I was like, wow, what is this? And now, you might hear "You Shook Me All Night Long" in the grocery store, walking down the aisle. It's incredible how things change over the years. But yeah, that's when AC/DC came onto my radar, was with Back in Black. So I guess if I had to, I'd probably favor the Brian Johnson stuff, just because it was, that's what I was more familiar with at the time. And, being like 15 years old when Back in Black came out, and really kind of grasping more and more musically, that kind of thing. So anyway, but if you go back, and you ask the hardcore AC/DC fans, which I would be more of a casual fan, then "Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap," tremendous album. All right, let me take that sip now. We're like almost halfway there, I think. Something like that. All right, next, released in September of 1976, "Free for All" is the second studio album from Ted Nugent. Uncle Ted, the controversial, always controversial Uncle Ted, the Motor City Madman. So as I said, this was the second studio album from second solo album from Ted. And at the time of its recording, at the time it was completed, rhythm guitarist and lead vocalist Derek St. Holmes decided that he was going to leave the band. He was he cited, like personal and creative differences with Ted. So just like two years straight being out on the road, that type of stuff, I guess it just kind of wore on him. So he decided that he was going to check out. Actually, this wasn't I'm sorry, I said once the recording had completed. No, this was once the recording was starting to begin for this album. So they're getting ready to start this deal, and Derek St. Holmes leaves. So now Ted has fronted his band for many, many, many years. And I think over the years, Derek St. Holmes has come in a couple of times to, for special shows, whatever, that kind of stuff. They've done stuff together since, but Derek has never come back as a member of the band since leaving. What's really kind of neat is, I think, to my ear, that Ted and Derek have very, very similar voices, very similar sounding voices. And so it to me, it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't like, oh, there's a change here. Now the songs are going to completely sound different. However, on this album, check this one out. This one's cool. On this album, a whole year before the album Bat Out of Hell was released, Meatloaf, yes, Meat himself, was brought in to do a lot of the singing on this album. He was paid. This is great. So this is what, probably 1970, late 75, early 76, when they're in the studio doing all this stuff. And Meat is paid like $1,000 for his services to this album. $1,000. Might have been great money in 76. I don't know. But out of the 9 tracks on this album, Derek St. Holmes did cut 2. He did cut vocals for 2 of them. Or no, 3 of them. I'm sorry. 3 of them. That was Dog Eat Dog, Turn It Up, and Light My Way. Meat, being the new guy, even though he's not a member of the band, he just came in to do vocal work. He sang on 5 tracks. 5 tracks. That's crazy. So the one notable track besides Dog Eat Dog would be the title track, and that one was sung by Ted. So you had Free for All beginning the album on side 1, then followed up by Dog Eat Dog. Track 3 is Writing on the Wall. Track 4, Turn It Up. Turn the album over. Track 1 on side 2 is Street Rats. 6 is Together. Track 7 is Light My Way. Then you've got track 8, Hammered Down. And closing out the album is I Love You, So I Told You a Lie. That's the one that closes it out, sung by Meatloaf. Meat is closing the album. This particular album here was a good seller for Ted. The last time it was certified, it was certified platinum, double platinum. I'm sorry. So that's 2 million copies sold. So not bad. Not bad. Who knows the last time it was certified? I'm sure it's more now. Probably quite a bit more. Let's see. Where are we going down the list? Next one is Presence from Led Zeppelin. It's the 7th studio album from Led Zeppelin, released March 31st. So it's coming up on the 50th anniversary of that one. while the album was a commercial success, it was, let me look at my note. It's, certified triple platinum. Okay. So definitely a commercial success, because any artist now would kill to just have platinum status. But even though it did reach triple platinum, it was kind of mixed reviews critically on the album. It was written and recorded mostly at the back end of 1975. It was a tough time in the band's history. Robert Plant was recovering from some serious injuries he had suffered in an automobile accident. So he was kind of in and out. Jimmy Page took the helm on a lot of it. I think this album is kind of considered the Jimmy Page album, where there's a lot of heavy electric guitar on here. I think there's like one track, and I don't own this album. I don't own it, although I've probably heard most of it on rock radio. But I think there's like one track on the album that contains some acoustic guitar. So this was like Jimmy's time to really shine. But the staples on, well, I'll just run down the track listing. It's funny. There's only 7 songs on this album. 7 songs. This was a 70s thing, really honestly was. It was a 70s thing where you'd have some long drawn out songs, and fewer songs, longer songs, and there you go. But how crazy is it to start an album with a 10.5-minute song? That's nuts, but that's the 70s. That is the 70s for you. All right, so side 1 starts out with Achilles' Last Stand, For Your Life. Those are big FM radio songs or rock radio songs. Then side 1 closes out with the 3rd track, Royal Orleans. Side 2 opens up with Nobody's Fault But Mine, rock radio staple. You guys know that. Track 2, Candy Store Rock. 3 hots on For Nowhere. And the album closes out with T for One. So it opens with a 10.5-minute song, nearly 10.5-minute song, and it closes with nearly 9.5-minute song. So yeah, bookended with those big epic songs. Great, right? But like I said, the album was certified triple platinum. I'm sure it sold more than that to this date. But maybe not a critical favorite, but definitely I think in minds of some, of a fan favorite in the Led Zeppelin catalog. And it is, let's see. Oh, and it is their next to last studio album. The band released, well, okay, technically not, but the next album following this was Song Remains the Same. That was basically a soundtrack album from the movie. And then the final album really was the final album. That was In Through the Outdoor, released in 1979. And after John Bonham's death and the band broke up, yes, Coda was released, but that wasn't a thing where the band all came to, the remaining members of the band came together and put that album out. So yes, that's a studio album, but not one where the entire band was completely involved. So that's why I say that. All right, moving along. Next, released May 17th of 1976. It is the second studio album from the band Rainbow. The title is Rising. Great album cover, if you're familiar with it. Great album cover. This big fist looking like it's coming up out of the ocean with some big rocks around it and a rainbow overhead. That album cover was was done by Ken Kelly, who had now gotten some traction and notoriety in the music business from his work with Kiss. He had done Destroyer, which Destroyer had come out 3 months prior to this album's, or actually almost 2 months, almost 2 months to the day. But great album cover from Ken Kelly, and this is again talking about albums in the 70s that didn't contain a lot of songs on them. As I said, this was the second studio album from Rainbow. 6 songs on the album. That's it. 6 songs. The track listing is Terror Woman, side 1, track 1, Terror Woman, track 2, Run with the Wolf, track 3, Starstruck, and the album, the side 1 closes out with Do You Close Your Eyes. Shortest song on the album at 2 minutes and 58 seconds. The album length actually is only it's just a little over 32 minutes, but 6 songs. So you know that they're some pretty lengthy songs. You flip the album over to side 2, and the first track on side 2 is this big epic song. It's considered like probably to be like the most classic Rainbow track, and one of the most classic and iconic tracks in Ronnie James Dio's history, and that is Stargazer. It's an 8 minute 26 second song. It's just it's epic. You know, if you're familiar, you know. If you're not familiar, go check it out. It's got some great lyrics, a great vocal performance by Ronnie, and great guitar work from Richie Blackmore. And the album closes out with A Light in the Black, another 8 minute plus song. The sad part is this album did not do very well. The first, or the debut album from Rainbow, which, if you're not familiar, Richie Blackmore was the lead guitarist in Deep Purple and left that band to venture out on his own. So the debut album was titled Richie Blackmore's Rainbow. That did not do very well. It didn't sell very well. This album here, as iconic as it is, because it is an iconic album, did not, again, it wasn't a great seller. And then the third album, what was that? That was Long Live Rock and Roll. That was the last album to feature Ronnie James Dio on lead vocals. He had left, and again, not a great seller. You had great music, great songs on these 3 albums, but they weren't selling. So Ronnie left, and Richie started to go for he wanted to go for a more radio friendly sound, something that they get them more radio play, not just on rock radio, but on hit radio, top 40 radio. So that's when they called in the services of Graham Bonnet. And what do you know? They had a hit song on the next album. That was Since You've Been Gone. So even though this is great stuff on Rainbow Rising, it just not, and certainly with the Rainbow fans and a lot of rock music fans, it just wasn't a big seller. Unfortunately, it's too bad. And speaking of albums that were not big sellers, but honestly, tremendous music, tremendous albums as well. The next one here, released in June of 76. It's the second album from one of my favorites, Angel. The title is Hell of a Band. I think it's a fabulous album. Again, like with Rainbow, Angel this band really didn't catch on, not in the 70s. They had a cult following. I've talked about this in the past. I love this band. They are so good. Still out there doing it. Actually, they are embarking on their farewell tour. I think it starts up in about a week, and I will be catching a show. They've got 2 shows here locally. I'll be catching one of them. And I think I mentioned it last year. I tried to get, I may have mentioned it. If I didn't, I'm mentioning it now. I tried to get the band on the podcast last year, and we've talked about it. We batted it around a little bit, couldn't get it to work out. But I will try again. This is supposed to be the band's farewell tour. It's going to encompass the remainder of this year and then go into next year, 2027. We'll see about that, because about a billion bands, billion's a big number, right? Okay, maybe a million, have said that they are done, saying goodbye, farewell, blah, blah, blah. We're finished. This is our last tour. And then, like 6 months after the last tour, or the last date, they're announcing more dates. So we'll see. We'll see if my guys from Angel do that. I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping I'll get to have a chat with them and kind of pick their brains on it. Who knows? But the track listing on this starts out "Feeling Right," which is a staple in their live set still to this day. It is so good. It's there's a big keyboard part of the song that features now not Greg Giuffre, but now it's Charlie Calv, and he's fantastic. I saw him when I saw the band last year. I even told his wife, I stood next to her watching him, and I said, man, he's like a professor back there watching, or just watching him play. I said, he's like a professor back there performing on these on his keyboards. And she just like got a big grin on her face. She's like, yeah, that's right. So Charlie does a tremendous job for the band. But there's a big trade-off on "Feeling Right" between Punky on guitar and Charlie on keys. And it's a great song in the set. They generally save it towards the end of the set, not at the end, but towards the end. Then track 2 is "Fortune," or "The Fortune," I should say. Long, epic song, which it takes over 4 minutes before you hear any vocals on it. So Frank has to wait around for a while, but it's a song that's still in the set to this day. They play it. It's a great song, gets a great reaction. I guess kind of the cool part about going to see Angel live these days is everyone there is like a hardcore Angel fan. There aren't many casual fans seeing Angel. So that's kind of the cool part. Be great if there were more casual fans there, but because then you could kind of educate them a little bit. But anyway, leading into the next track is "Any Way You Want It." And then track 4 is "Dr. Ice." Side 1 closes out with "Mirrors," another song in the set still to this day. So you can see that this is a big album for the band, where they play quite a few numbers from this album in their live set to this day. "Feelings," which is a ballad song, really, really good song featuring Frank's vocals. He just does a tremendous job. They don't really play it in the live set. One of my absolute favorites, other than "Feeling Right," "Pressure Point." Dig this song. So good. Fast song, screaming song. So good. Then track 8 is "Chicken Soup," a funky sounding song. And then the album closes out with Angel's Theme, which is an instrumental 2.5 minute long to close out the album. Good track. it really is a great album. But as I started to say with Rainbow, not a big seller for the band. This was not a big seller, which is unfortunate. It's because it's great music, great musicianship, great vocals, great. It's everything that you want in a rock album. And at this point, Angel was on their first and second album. You could see some progressive leanings with the band as they moved forward with the next album, On Earth as It Is in Heaven, then White Hot, then what was the one after that? I think that was Sinful. They got away from that progressive sound a bit and went more towards just a hard rock sound, but more of a mainstream sound that they could, market to radio. And unfortunately, it never happened for the band. They were too good, really. Honestly, that's just the truth. They were too good, and they were getting kicked off of more than one tour that they were the opener for. They would outshine the headliner, and then they would subsequently be asked to depart. So, be that as it may, they were not in a position to headline themselves, especially financially. And they had their cult following, but not a big enough draw to where they could be headlining arenas, that kind of thing. And their show was an expensive show to put together and produce. So just one of those things that happened, and it's really unfortunate. I've said this before, and I would love to discuss this on the podcast with the band. I really, really would. But I've said it before that if they could have held on for like another 6 or 8 months, because they broke up in like late 80, early 81, if they could have held on for another 6 or 8 months, there was this new vehicle for music called MTV. And I think it really could have put a lot of eyes on Angel and maybe change their fortunes a little bit, because they were a very visual band, very visual. All right. So moving on, the next album released. This one has already celebrated 50. It was released January 15th of 1976. It is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, selling live albums of all time. It is Frampton Comes Alive. This one follows. It's kind of weird a little bit, but it follows a similar path to Kiss. Kiss released their live album Alive in 75 on the heels of 3 studio albums that sold okay. Not great, but okay. And they were known for their live show. So that's what launched them, was Kiss Alive. That's really what catapulted them into mainstream. So following 4 studio albums for Peter that were not great as far as the success of them, Frampton Comes Alive was that breakthrough. It was an opportunity for people to see, or not see certainly, but listen to how Peter listened to his performance live, his live performance. And this album, it took off. The big songs on this album are, I think you guys know, they are Show Me the Way, Baby I Love Your Way, and my favorite song on the album, it closes out the album, is Do You Feel Like We Do. It's like 14 minutes long. Like I said, it's a double album. It's only got, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 14 songs on it because there's some pretty lengthy tunes on here, especially when side 4 contains 2 songs, a 7-minute Lines on My Face, and then closing out the album, as I said, Do You Feel Like We Do. That is such a tremendous song. If you haven't heard that one or you haven't heard it in a long time, man, go check it out. That is just, I love every bit of that song, just everything about it. It is so great. And I love when Peter gets on the talk box and, you know, it's so good. It's just so good. I don't know how else to describe it other than to say it is so good. The album did reach number 1 on the Billboard top 200 albums chart. It spent 1 week. Well, I shouldn't say spent 1 week. It reached number 1 at the end of April. So it took about 3.5 months to get to number 1, climb all the way up to the chart. And then subsequently throughout the rest of the year, it would be back and forth at the top spot. So it spent a total of 10 weeks at number 1, just not consecutive weeks. But the album was also voted Album of the Year by a Rolling Stone Readers poll, and it stayed on the Album 200 chart for 97 weeks. So great album. And this one here definitely put Peter Frampton in the spotlight and really just launched his career. It's just a great live album. That takes us into an album. Let me turn this over a little bit, please, if I could. That takes us into an album that was released on May 3rd, 1976. The 4th studio album from Aerosmith, the album titled Rocks. It's by a lot of fans' standards, this is the best studio album. This is their favorite studio album from the band. It's definitely it definitely was a tremendous commercial success. It has sold, last time it was certified, it sold over 4 million copies. That's a great success right there. It is certainly by sales numbers one of the more popular Aerosmith albums. By fan status, it is one of the best albums. It is probably my 3rd favorite studio album from Aerosmith. I've said this before. I think I said it last year when we celebrated Toys in the Attic. I probably should have just done a feature on this one all by itself, because like I did last year, I did Toys in the Attic celebrating 50. Although nobody watched that episode, so maybe this is better just to kind of bring it in with everything else here. No one watched it. No one listened to it. No one cared about that episode. Not that it was good, but Toys in the Attic is my favorite, and then probably Night in the Ruts, and then Rocks. Rocks is a great album. Great songs on it. With the big two of the tracks on there reaching top 40 status. That was the opening track, which is Back in the Saddle, and then Last Child. Great songs. At this time, the group had, they'd already begun to live the rock and roll lifestyle. They were like taking it to the nth degree, indulging their already considerable, appetite for drugs. They were getting big into that, even more so. Joe Perry actually was quoted as saying, "There's no doubt we were doing a lot of drugs by then, but whatever we were doing, it was still working for us." So even though they were getting whacked out of their skulls, they were still at least able to get the work done on this album and put out a tremendous one. Certainly coming off the heels of Toys in the Attic, which was the 3rd album, of course, and it put Aerosmith in the mainstream. So coming off the heels of that, great album. I mean, the track listing is, side one, Back in the Saddle, Last Child, Rats in the Cellar, Combination, Flip This Thing Over, and side two, track one, Sick as a Dog. Oh, I love that song. Oh, I love that song. Track two, Nobody's Fault. Track three, Get the Lead Out. Track four, Lickin' a Promise. And the album closes out with a ballad from Steven Tyler, Home Tonight. It's a great album. Great album. But like I said, unfortunately, I think it's my number 3 Aerosmith album in the catalog. Not bad considering their catalog. And I dig Aerosmith. And I think I even mentioned it last year when we did the Toys in the Attic episode. They were like my second band. It's funny. I don't count Uriah Heep when I was really taken in music and Kiss became everything to me. I don't know. Uriah Heep sat in they sat in a separate place. Not a bad place, a great place, but they sat in this separate area and didn't count them for whatever reason. But it was Kiss, 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 and I couldn't let anyone else in because it was a threat to my Kiss fandom. And Aerosmith was that band that was able to break through. Yeah, it was great. That's a great, and I think they broke. No, I think when they broke through that wall, I think it was with Get Your Wings. I think that's what it was with. Anyway, so let's move along. We're getting close. We are getting close, and I don't want to keep you guys forever. But I hope you're enjoying this because not only do you get a little bit of an education, but you get a list of some great albums that are celebrating 50 years. 50 years. Can you guys believe that? 50 years. That's amazing. It's amazing because some of this stuff, it just seems like there's no way it's more than 10 years old. It's just bananas. Okay. So the next one is the 9th studio album for the Steve Miller Band, released on May 15th, 1976. It is Fly Like an Eagle. It's the album itself was a great commercial success. It has sold over 4 million copies at the last time of certification. It had 3 hit songs on it. The title track, Fly Like an Eagle. It had Take the Money and Run. That is, first off, all these songs. Fly Like an Eagle, Take the Money and Run, Rockin' Me. Those 3 songs. Rockin' Me a little bit less, which is weird because it was a big hit. But you hear Take the Money and Run all the time. All the time. Well, you used to anyway. You might hear it a little less now. But if you listen to like satellite radio and you're listening to Classic Rewind or whatever, what channel is that? 25 or something? I don't know. But you'll hear Take the Money and Run all the time. You'll hear Fly Like an Eagle all the time. You'll hear Jet Airliner all the time. Not on this album though. So those three singles, big hits. When you look at the track listing though, there's I'm looking at 4, I'm looking at 6 songs out of the 12, half of them that end up on the greatest hits album, the best of the Steve Miller Band. I think that's what it's called, the best of the Steve Miller Band. So you've got Space Intro, Fly Like an Eagle. Those kind of get played together. So I said there's 12 tracks. There's actually, if you put the Space Intro and Fly Like an Eagle together, it's 1 track. Wild Mountain Honey. You don't hear that a lot on the radio at all, on any rock radio stations, but man, that is a killer song. killer song. Serenade, another just great song. That one's also these first four songs that I'm calling out to you are all on the Best of the Steve Miller Band. So track 4 was Serenade, yeah, on the best of, and then Dance Dance Dance, good song, just a good groovy song. Then there's Mercury Blues. Then flip the album over, track 1, side 2, Take the Money and Run. Woo hoo hoo. So good. That is such a good song. And you got to get the hand claps in too. I don't know if I should do that because sometimes when I clap, it mutes out the mic. So I won't do that. I'll spare it. Then I think, I don't know if, Fly Like an Eagle is probably the biggest single off the album. And then probably Take the Money and Run. Rockin' Me, probably the third best single or the third most popular single off the album. So Rockin' Me is at track 8. Then a cover of a Sam Cooke song, You Send Me, that's track number 9. Blue Odyssey, which is an instrumental. It's just a minute-long thing. That's track 10. Then track 11 is Sweet Marie. Oh, wait a minute. I know that one. I was thinking, wait a minute, I haven't heard that one in forever, but just saying that title, that just brings something back to me. Oh my goodness. Then the album closes out with The Window at track 12. Again, a big seller for the Steve Miller Band. I would be interested to see how the follow-up did, which was that Book of Dreams. That's got Jet Airliner and Swingtown, a huge album for the Steve Miller Band. Be interested to see the sales numbers with those two albums there side by side. All right. So the next one, released at the end of 1976, it is the 5th studio album from this band, and to be more specific, released December 8th, 1976. It is Hotel California from the Eagles. It is the first album to feature Joe Walsh, who replaced founding member Bernie Layden on guitar and vocals. It's the last album to feature Randy Meisner on bass and vocals. The album won Record of the Year Record of the Year for the single New Kid in Town. It was up for Album of the Year, and it lost to, which I think is weird, it lost to Fleetwood Mac Rumors. Fleetwood Mac Rumors was released in 77. And this album is 76. I don't know. I don't understand how all that works. So whatever, no big deal. But the three songs or the 3 tracks that were released as singles off the album, big giant hit singles. Those were certainly the title track, Hotel California, New Kid in Town, and Life in the Fast Lane. That's like, Life in the Fast Lane is like dad rock. When that song comes on the radio, you got your kids in the back seat or whatever, and you like crank that because that's dad rock. That's dad rock. We're gonna crank this sucker and scream down the highway. Another song that got a lot of FM radio play was "Victim of Love." Let's just run down the track list. It's side 1, Hotel California. We all know that. I mean, come on. It's a great song with an absolute great iconic guitar solo at the end. It's like not dueling guitars, but it's like 3 guitar attack on that solo. New Kid in Town, Life in the Fast Lane, then Wasted Time. Then if you flip the album over and the first track is Wasted Time, the reprise, which is just an instrumental. Then one song that I dig, Victim of Love. You don't hear it very much. We used to hear it a lot in the 70s and 80s on rock radio. Then track 3, Pretty Maids, All in a Row. Then track 4, Try and Love Again, and the album closes out with The Last Resort. As you guys know, we've talked about this multiple times. This is one of the greatest selling albums in history. It has sold over 42 million copies worldwide. And I've mentioned it before. It's like there's like three there's really like three albums that kind of fight it out for the very top position. And that's well, it's actually there's really two albums, but this one's right up there. You've got Michael Jackson's Thriller. You've got Hotel California. You've got the Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 1 also. They're like always fighting it out for the top position as far as the number of units sold worldwide. And then you have Fleetwood Mac Rumors right up there as well. You also have AC/DC Back in Black. It's crazy to think about. But yeah, Hotel California, iconic album cover, shot at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Great album. One of the biggest, like I said, biggest of all time. So you guys are probably like, wait a minute. Some of you are screaming, hey, you didn't say this one. You didn't say that one. You didn't say this one. Hey, what about this one over here? And you know what? I got another list and I'll knock it out really quick. Give me 5 minutes. I saved these. I put these down separately because these are kind of, well, I would say 3 of the 5 that I have here, I think I have 5, are pretty iconic albums. 2 of the 5, not necessarily iconic, but iconic acts, iconic bands. Okay. So the first on that list was released on April 23rd, 1976. It's the debut. These are all debut albums. I don't even know if I said it. Sorry if I'm losing my mind here. But these are all debut albums. So that's why I kind of put them on a separate list. But the first one is the debut album from the Ramones. The Ramones, they didn't start the punk movement, but boy, did they kind of elevate it and begin to take it to the next level. The big notable track on this album, of course, is Blitzkrieg Bop. So, you know, that iconic band, even though they didn't really hardly, as far as commercial success, no, not much commercial success at all. Not a lot anyway. But they are an iconic band in the sense that they had a huge cult following and they had a huge impact on culture. Okay. Next, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers debut album, released November the 9th, 1976. The notable tracks on that are American Girl, which actually didn't become real popular until 1982 with the release of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the movie and the album, or the soundtrack album. So, and then the second real notable track is Breakdown. Love that song. So good. Such a great song. Man, that is so good. I'm going to save that one for last. Then you've got the Runaways, their debut album. Cherie Currie on lead vocals, Joan Jett on rhythm guitar and vocals, Lita Ford on lead guitar, Sandy West on drums, and Jackie Fox on bass. The big song that everyone knows is Cherry Bomb. I think it had a couple other minor tracks, but this album was produced by Kim Fowley. I mentioned Kim Fowley a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week when I talked about Kiss Destroyer. But he produced this album. He also brought in Nigel Harrison from Blondie. Actually, Blondie released their debut album this year, also in 1976. But he brought in Nigel Harrison to play bass on the album. It went uncredited. Jackie Fox got full credit, of course. But so Nigel was brought in to play bass on this album. Not a huge commercial success for the Runaways, but iconic. And I still think they're not, I still think that they haven't been recognized by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think they've been on the ballot once. But if you put in a band like the Go-Go's, if you induct a band like the Go-Go's into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all-girl band that wrote all their songs, all that kind of stuff, they should not. There should be an order of seniority. There really should be, and the Runaways should go first. If the Go-Go's go, then the Runaways should go, and they should be in before the Go-Go's, because if it wasn't for the Runaways, there might not be a Go-Go's. All right, enough of that. We're talking about albums, not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All right, next, and I've got two more. This one and then one more, and we're done. Released on October the 1st of 1976, it was the debut album for John Cougar. Although this album was the title of the album is Chestnut Street Incident, but it's from Johnny Cougar, not John Cougar. And boy, he hated every minute of all that stuff. Hated every minute of that John Cougar stuff, Johnny Cougar stuff, all that. But wasn't able to really claim his name of John Mellencamp until he got success with the album from 1982, American Fool, which exploded. He did have, there was like no hits on this album, nothing at all. It was pretty widely ignored. He didn't get his first hit single till a few years later. I think it was the year before American Fool, 1980 or 81. He had I Need a Lover. I need a lover that won't drive me crazy. You know that. So, yeah, so I saved this one for last. I didn't write it down on my list last, but I saved it for last because it's not only is it a debut album, but it's an iconic album. And that is the debut album from Boston, released August the 25th, 1976. You know, obviously the big tracks, More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind. What is it when you hear them together? Foreplay, Long Time. I believe the album has 8 tracks on it. Every single track on this album is played on rock radio. Every single one. This is like a greatest hits album all on its own. Biggest selling debut album, I believe it is still to this day. It has sold over 16 million copies. Tremendous album. It is an absolute shame that this band Boston hasn't been recognized by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for its creativity, its innovativeness, its bigness. You like that word, bigness? Yeah, it's an absolute shame. And I mentioned seniority a couple minutes ago. Sadly, 10 days ago, lead singer of the band, Tommy DiCarlo, and yes, he's not the original lead singer of the band, but he picked up and carried on when Brad Delp passed away in, I think it was 2007. Tommy DiCarlo picked up, carried on, and he did even record one. I think he recorded one album with Boston, but Tommy passed away about 10 days ago. Very, very, very sad. But Whether he would have been recognized by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or not, I think that he would have been very proud to see this band, Boston, go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, knowing that he was a part of it. He contributed and he helped march that band forward after the passing of Brad Delp. But anyway, again, I'm getting to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we're talking albums here. The debut album from Boston, tremendous album. Like I said, a greatest hits album all unto itself. So good. Yeah. Well, look, that's it. That's why I wanted to close out with those debut albums and close out with Boston, because just why not close out with such a huge album? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I really do. I hope you were taking some notes, and that you'll go and seek some of this stuff out. All right. Some of it may not be for you. Some of it might be just right up your alley, but go check it out. All right. As you guys know, this program is available wherever you get your podcasts. Just search the Ben Maynard program. Boom, it's right there. Go with it. Download it. Very important. Download it. Share it. That's even more important. Share it with all your people. All right. Give me a 5-star rating, and you can subscribe to it also. But if you've enjoyed some of this right here, and I don't know, I haven't, but maybe you guys have. If you've enjoyed some of this here on YouTube, then thank you very much. But please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, give me a thumbs up, and leave a comment. I dig your comments, all right? Then tell 1,000 of your family and friends about the Ben Maynard program. All right, last but not least, follow me on Instagram, simply Ben Maynard Program, all one word, or on the TikTok at the Ben Maynard Program. We're done. We're out of here. Thank you so much for your time. Love you guys. I will see you next time, all right? This is the Ben Maynard Program. Tell a friend.